What's going on, people? So I picked up some shoes recently. See that? Yeah, those are them. That's what we're going to be talking about real quick here. So I don't want to drag this video out too long. I know I said that about the last one and it ended up being fairly long, but again, sometimes like those new shoes, you got to talk about more stuff and they just get a little bit longer. It is what it is though. But anyways, moving on. This right here is the Asics Novablast 5 in the Wave Teal and Black colorway. Pretty simple, right? So let's go ahead and jump on into some things here. Down across the bottom, what are you looking at down there? I believe that's the same like trampoline inspired outsole that they use on like last Novablast 5s and possibly or the Novablast 4 and something else. But again, I don't have a 4 for myself, so I only paid so much attention and retained so much from that video that I made about one. But anyways, one thing I will say about what's going on down there, it's not labeled or anything, but this does have the AHAR LO, right, which is like supposed to be like a lowered density or something version of it. So it's supposed to be like lighter, right, but just as or more grippy on the bottom, right? So I can't really say how that's going to play out or whatever because I don't have anything close enough to these to really do that comparison. But just know, if you are curious about what kind of grip these have on the bottom, the newest type of grip that Asics is putting out there right now. So there you go. Moving on to the midsole, right? So also, what's new here, they took the design, kind of kept it the same, just kind of threw in some broken up lines and stuff on in the back. Kind of almost looks like broken glass in a way to me. I think it's kind of cool. But the thing that matters that's new is that they use Flight Foam Blast Max, right? Now, this is, as of right now, the only shoe with this foam for the entire midsole, right? The Glide Ride Max over there, that does have Flight Foam Blast Max as well, but it's on the top, because it's like that is on the top, there's a plate in the middle, and then there's probably just like Flight Foam Blast Plus or something on the bottom. I can't remember exactly what the makeup is, but it's not this whole thing all throughout, right? And I did say some things about how I felt with that as far as like the actual performance review piece. So I'm gonna have to come back to how I feel about these at some point, but I have some mixed expectations, honestly, because I'm not sure what was going on with those, but we're gonna see how these work out, right? So anyways, overall, right, when you're looking at these, there's not a whole lot to really see. You can kind of tell that there's like a little bit of a nice switch up in like the stitching pattern or whatever where the mesh is, so you kind of have like a design built into the upper. It's a little easier to see in certain colorways. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine walked up with a pair of these on the other day, I think the white ones. And I was like, oh, what are those? Because I thought they were completely new, but no, it was just a pair of these, but the design just made it look like it was something I'd never seen before. So I do kind of like that. And the blue. But anyway, so moving on from all that stuff, we'll go getting on into things, right? So down here, like I said, around the toe box, you do have like a slightly different look as far as what they're going for here. You also have a very different mesh. That's one of the other upgrades that they did from the 4. So this mesh is going to be lighter, more breathable, you know, all that stuff. Felt really good to me, like compared to the 3, but again, going from the 3 to the 5, you should expect to have like a good bit of a difference, right? Because usually Asics is pretty good with their changes from year to year. So if you go skip 2 years, then it should be that much better, right? So again, not the best comparison. Anyways, moving on back to this here in the midsection for like the Asics logo, it's just like these black stitching lines and instead of like the teal stitching lines. So we got that going on. You can kind of still see a little bit of like the breathability peeking through or whatever just from the way they did the mesh, which is a huge thing that I'm a fan of, which is why I often bring that up. Moving on back to the last third or so of the shoe, back third or so, pretty much everything you saw on the front, just on the back. Now, as far as the very back goes, the website said that there's reflective elements to these shoes, and so I guess that's kind of the reflective element because it doesn't have a full-on reflective thing, but it's more than anything else on the rest of here, so there is that. But anyways, just a little simple little pull tab otherwise going on back there. Back to the front piece, laces wise, these laces, they're just plain teal all throughout, which is a fine thing for me, right? I don't think that's a problem. It makes sense in this situation. So moving on down here onto like the tongue. The tongue looks like everything I remember from the 3 and the 4, right? So it's going to be this thin, sort of stretchy nylon, neoprene, whatever this material is. I do really like the design of it. It feels really nice. At the top, you can kind of tell that it's got kind of like this, almost like this split thing, almost like those spitter dinosaurs from Jurassic Park, you know? Kind of reminds me of that in some ways. Super thin, like I was saying, but it does still have some nice padding. And because of like that whole like cut in the top, that's supposed to make it like not really move around so much when you're running, right? The newest addition that I can see right here, and again, I don't remember how the 4s looked, but these do have this little strip down the middle. It just says Novablast 5 at the bottom piece, and it has the Asics at the top. So you got that. You can kind of like wrap your laces through there if you want to, and that doesn't really stay in place by any means or whatever. It's just there. So I don't know if you want to get rid of it. I guess maybe you could. Well, actually no, you can't because it's kind of attached to the bottom. But either way, it's not really doing a whole lot to me. But it looks kind of cool, so I'll allow it. And then jumping on past that onto the inside, sock liner wise, it's basically all tealed out like you kind of saw from the other pictures and everything. And then as you get down onto the insole is black as the last pair of shoes was. But this time around they did that normal thing where one has the Asics logo and one says something about their carbon footprint. So that's what's going on from a visual standpoint of this. And in case you're curious about the inside looks basically the same as the outside did, right? You just don't have that Flight Foam Blast Max labeling. So I think that's really about it as far as the visual pieces go. So we can go ahead, we'll jump on into the personal thoughts piece and then do some sizing, because that's how these videos are generally laid out. It's a thing that's been working for me, so I just kind of haven't changed it. Personally, right? These are actually looking pretty okay. I was talking to like the Asics guy last time he was down here. He's like, oh man, did you? He's like the DMV tech guy for like Asics or whatever. So if you haven't ever been to like an Asics event in this general area, in the DMV area, probably talk to the same dude. Anyway, so we've encountered each other like a couple times or whatever. He's like, oh yeah, man, like you see those new teal ones? Like that's probably the one you want, right? And I'm like, yeah, it is. I don't remember if I had them ordered or not at that point. But I knew I was going to get them, right? And apparently he did too. And so I say that to say this. This is a color that stands out to me, and it's a color I wanted, and it's a color that's working out very well. I do not consider myself to be a huge Novablast guy. But the right color, yeah, sure, why not, right? Because it's good to have a variety of running shoes and stuff. And Asics, I don't know, they can be kind of hard to turn away when they have a color that's worth having, right? And part of doing this whole review thing is like this review channel is talk about like the new shoes that come out. Even if I don't completely want them all the time, sometimes it's like, well, I don't dislike these, so that's not going to make me omit them from the lineup. So sure, why not? Let's go ahead and pick up a pair if they make a color that I like, and they did, so here we are. But one of the things that does make some sort of sense to talk about is the sizing and the comfort and whatnot, because that's kind of a big deal around here, at least to me, right? So let's do that. Sizing wise, right? I bought these in a 9.5 because I have a size 9.5 foot, and that's just kind of how that works. And it's working out fine, right? I was kind of talking about the gel kinetic fluent before this, and saying how, like, you know, in the front of the toe, I kind of felt like it didn't have a whole lot of room because, you know, you're kind of elevated in some ways. And these, whilst also elevated in the back, like, I don't know what the heel drop is off the top of my head. I feel like 8 millimeters. But either way, these don't feel so bad, right? And I think a lot of that comes down to it being the mesh setup that they have going on in here. So you're not going to feel as confined as when you have something that's more rigid, like those last shoes. And even on the same thing, like side to side, you know, like where your small toe is and all that stuff, even that, like, even though these look similar dimension-wise, these felt better, right? So the mesh that they put on here feels really good, and it's lightweight, it's breathable, all the things that you would generally want from a shoe. So true to size worked out for me. It's likely to work out for a lot of other people too, but if you had a pair of the last ones, I feel like they look very similar, and from what everybody has said that I know of, everybody else went with their normal size too, so whatever. Now, the comfort of these, right? I still don't really prefer walking around in a pair of Novablast. It is a comfortable shoe, don't take that the wrong way. I just prefer something more stable under my foot, which is, again, where the Kayanos and things like that come in, right? So it's just a personal thing, but I can't knock these not one bit, especially when it comes to running in them. I did do a demo in a pair like a couple weeks ago. They weren't like brand new out of the box or anything, but they felt fine. They felt good. So I'm wondering like how these will feel. I assume they'll be pretty nice. I just did a couple miles in the 3s the other day. They feel light. They feel fast. These should feel lighter and faster. So all in all, this should be a good thing. I will have to get back with you guys at some point once I've actually like put some miles in on these. That was supposed to happen today, but it's all like rainy and snowy and stuff, so I don't think that's going to happen today. At least not for these. If I do go out, I'm probably going to take some trail shoes or something, because, you know, it's kind of the thing that makes sense for today, which is why I have a different lineup of various things. Also, closing out the thing, we'll talk about this real quick. I did pick up a new tank top along with getting these shoes in, right? So it's kind of like this green. It's the same sort of style as like some of the other ones that I've picked up recently. I think the red one and the yellow one. But this one's just green and has different colors in it, different shades of green, and I guess a little bit of black on the back. So yeah, Asics, they got a whole lot of running gear that I like because I like colorful things and they like making colorful stuff. So that's kind of why we get along so well. All right, from me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night. Whatever it is, wherever you are, I'm done recording things now that I've made 3 super long videos. Now I got to get them on and so I can start sitting down in the lab, do some editing. So that's what's next for me. Later, people.